If your job search feels like you're tossing resumes into a black hole, I want you to hear this first. You're not broken. You're not secretly bad at interviewing. You're not the only one staring at an inbox like it owes you money. A lot of really capable people are getting the same weird silence right now. Not because they're doing everything wrong, but because the market has this cautious, locked-up vibe that makes normal effort feel pointless. And that weird vibe is basically the setup for what people have started calling job hugging. Job hugging is pretty much what it sounds like. People are gripping their current job like it's the last decent option on the table. Not because they're in love with it, not because they wake up excited. They're staying because leaving feels like stepping off the curb into traffic. We've gotten hit with a lot of whiplash fast. The pandemic slammed the brakes on everything. Then things snapped back, workers had leverage, and it felt like everybody was switching jobs, negotiating harder, bumping salaries, upgrading their life. Then the mood shifted again. Layoff talk got louder, budgets got tighter, hiring got slower, and now we're in this awkward phase where it feels like nobody's moving even if they want to. So what's actually happening? Here's the clean way to think about it. It's not like every company is firing everyone nonstop. That's not the picture most people are living in day to day. What's happening is quieter and honestly more annoying. Hiring is slower, fewer seats are open, and the roles that do show up often don't feel as good as the ones people remember from a few years ago. At the same time, fewer workers are quitting compared to that peak everyone's leaving era. When people don't quit, fewer spots open up. When fewer spots open up, employers can be pickier. When employers get pickier, candidates get more careful. Then the whole thing turns into a freeze. That's job hugging. And if you've caught yourself thinking, I'd leave tomorrow if I knew I'd land safely, you're in very crowded company. Here's the confusing part though. The job market can look fine on paper while still feeling rough in real life. You can have a world where layoffs aren't exploding everywhere, but hiring is still tight in the lanes you care about. You can have job postings, but they're lower pay, heavier workloads, more contract or part-time setups, or they're getting buried under a mountain of applicants. You can have companies that aren't firing aggressively, but they also aren't promoting, not backfilling, not creating real movement. That's how you end up with that tense feeling where nothing is happening, but everything feels unstable anyway. Another reason it feels stuck is how a lot of companies have flattened things out. There's been a squeeze in the middle. Fewer manager layers, fewer step-up roles, fewer promotion slots. So you get experienced people sitting in place because there's nowhere to climb internally, and the external market is moving like molasses. So it's not just job hugging, it's title hugging, benefits hugging, stability hugging. People are holding on to what they've got, even if they're miserable, even if the workload is wild, even if they know they're underpaid. Because the fear is simple and it's valid. What if I jump and there's nothing there? Now let's talk about job postings, because this is where people get mental whiplash. You'll hear there are tons of openings, and then you look around and you're like, okay, where are they? Because what many people are actually seeing is one of these. 1, roles that are real, but the competition is brutal. 2, roles that are real, but the deal is worse than it used to be. Lower salary bands, thinner benefits, more contract terms, more pressure to accept weird requirements. 3, listings that seem like they're always open, but somehow nobody ever gets hired, or the process drags for months. And even when companies are hiring, a lot of it is replacement hiring, not growth hiring. That matters. Replacement hiring tends to be slower and more selective. Growth hiring is when it feels exciting. Growth hiring is when recruiters chase you. Growth hiring is when you can negotiate without feeling like you're asking for a miracle. In a lot of industries right now, it doesn't feel like growth hiring. It feels like cautious hiring. On top of that, the structure of work has shifted. Some companies took one full-time role and split it into smaller chunks. Some pushed more work into contract pipelines. Some cut senior roles and tried to squeeze the same output from junior roles or just fewer people. Some piled extra responsibilities onto the people who stayed. So yes, you might see job postings, but that doesn't automatically mean the opportunity is the same quality you would have seen 5 years ago. Then add the big personal layer that makes people cling even harder. When the market feels uncertain, your brain starts running the same loop. If I leave, I might take a pay cut. If I leave, I might lose healthcare. If I leave, I might not get back to this level. If I leave, I might end up with a gap that's hard to explain. If I leave, I might land somewhere even worse. So people stay. And that creates gridlock. Fewer quits means fewer openings. Fewer openings means heavier competition. Heavier competition slows movement even more. And slower movement makes more people stay. That's why it feels frozen. Now here's the part that matters. If you're job hugging right now, don't beat yourself up for it. Sometimes staying put is the rational move. Sometimes it's the move that keeps your life stable while you quietly plan your next step. The problem is when job hugging turns into career rot, because there's a trap here. If you stay in the same role, in the same environment, doing the same version of work while the market evolves around you, you can drift behind without even noticing. Not because you're lazy, not because you're not sharp, just because you're tired, busy, and trying to get through the week. Then if you get pushed out later, the market can feel like a different planet. So the real play usually isn't quit tomorrow. The real play is stay if you need to, but build your exit while you're still employed. Think of it like living in an apartment you don't love, but it's a safe base camp. You're not committing to it forever in your head. You're using it to regroup and plan the next move with your feet on the ground. So what does that look like in real life? First, stop waiting for the market to feel normal again. People lose months doing that. I'll update my resume when hiring picks up. I'll learn that skill when things calm down. I'll network when I feel more confident. The market doesn't send a little alert that says it's safe now. You build your own safety. Second, get your story clear. If someone asked you what you do, could you explain it in a way that makes sense outside your company, outside your titles, outside your internal jargon? A lot of people can't, especially if they've been in one place a long time. So translate your work into market language. What problems do you solve? What outcomes do you drive? What systems do you improve? What friction do you remove? What risk do you reduce? What process do you speed up? What do you protect, grow, fix, or speed up? Even if you're not in a numbers role, you still create outcomes. Third, build proof of modern skills without turning your life into a second job. This doesn't have to be dramatic. Pick 1 or 2 skills that show up constantly in the roles you want and get current on them. Not watch 100 videos, not sign up for a year-long program you'll abandon. Just get competent enough to speak the language and show evidence. A small project, a portfolio piece, a process you improved, a tool you learned and used, something you can point to and say, here's what I did and here's what changed. Fourth, treat networking like reconnecting, not begging. Most people hate networking because they picture it as groveling for favors. Don't do that. Reach out like a normal human. Short message, specific, no desperation. Hey, I saw you moved into this role. I'm exploring this kind of work this year. If you've got 10 minutes, I'd love to hear what you're seeing out there. That's it. You're gathering intel. You're building visibility. You're staying in the game. Fifth, if you're applying online, stop playing the volume game. Apply to 200 jobs and hope burns people out. And it makes rejection feel personal when a lot of it is just math and timing. Pick a smaller set of roles you actually match. Tune your top section and your bullet points toward that job family. Apply with intent. Then for the roles you really want, add a second path. Find someone near the team. Find a recruiter. Find a hiring manager adjacent. Send a clean, respectful message pointing to one relevant outcome you've delivered that matches what they're trying to hire for. You're not trying to be annoying. You're trying to be visible. Sixth, consider a bridge if your exact lane is tight right now. Sometimes the path isn't a perfect lateral move. Sometimes it's contract work, a short-term project, consulting, fractional work, or a smaller company where you can prove value quickly and convert later. That doesn't mean you're going backward. It means you're keeping momentum. Momentum matters. And one last thing, because this is where people spiral. If you're stuck right now, don't confuse stuck with finished. This market can be hard, and it can be confusing, but it also rewards the person who stays calm, gets specific, and quietly builds leverage while everyone else is panic scrolling. Job hugging gets dangerous when it turns into surrender, so hug the job if you need to. Keep the benefits, keep the paycheck, keep the stability. Just don't stop building. Stay current, stay visible, stay ready. Because when things loosen up, the people who move fastest are usually the ones who didn't wait until the last minute to become employable again. If you want more stuff like this, stick around. Thanks for watching.